Hi, folks. Hope you are okay. God bless you. Love to everybody out there. I thought I'd do a big study tonight on Paul versus Jesus, the Muslim accusation that Jesus and Paul are different. I was going to show the Muslims and liberal Christians or liberals that Paul and Jesus are the same in their teaching. Um, but I'm very, very tired. We're seeing my mum today. And so I need to rest really. I can't do a big study today. Um, I can do half an hour, or 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but not. I was thinking of doing like a 3 hour deep study, but I'm not able to do that today. I did go on EF Dower team, and I did an hour on the show earlier on, and it was just a light chat on a guy called Pisaref. Had them in a bit of a tiz near the end. Pisarev is a guy that did a bit of writing over the Quran. Um, yeah, I'm doing this video. Um, Someone sent me a video concerning Soco films. Bob the Builder was debating this elderly man, and then near the end of the debate, this elderly man pushed Bob the Builder. Bob the Builder pushed him back, and then suddenly the Muslim mob began to uh, attack Bob, and then JC, who ran Soco Films, jumped in, and then this Muslim mob were attacking him, and it was pretty violent. The scuffle went on for quite a few minutes down Speaker's Corner, and my observations are that the Christians were just minding their own business. They were just debating, and they got pushed. And it was quite a strong push on Bob, and Bob had a right to protect himself. And JC was jumping in to protect his friend when there was loads of people attacking Bob the Builder. That is what happened. That is the truth. I didn't see any police there. I didn't see any police officers. I didn't see any proper security. Yeah. Uh, Cherry, yeah, that's it. They were not as friendly as they make out to be. But yeah, it was quite. It could have turned nasty. It could have turned nasty. They could have had knives. They could have had nunchuckers or something. I don't know. But it was a lot of Muslims that went after Bob and went after JC Suckle Films. Um, and all they were doing is defending themselves. They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do nothing. Someone who Bob was debating was losing the argument, went right up into his face, was in his face quite a bit of time, quite a bit of time. This old guy's in his face, and just pushed him like that. So Bob pushed him back, which he had a right to do. He was defending himself. And then the Muslims jumped on him, and then JC jumped in between Bob to stop him, and then they like flooded on JC and started attacking him. And I saw a big, I don't know, walking stick or something, that they were trying to hit him with it. You know what I mean? No police though. I didn't see any police. Maybe police came later, but they weren't there on the scene. And the police officers, you get paid to protect the people. You get paid to protect the people, and you've got to stop being woke. You've got to stop being woke, and you've got to start doing your job and protecting the people at Speaker's Corner. You're not doing your job. There've been attacks on Christians at Speaker's Corner by Muslim youths, by Muslim mobs, and you don't do anything about it. And it's getting too dangerous. It's getting too dangerous at Speaker's Corner. Now, I was hoping to go to Speaker's Corner today, but I couldn't in my heart of hearts leave my mum. I needed to be with my mum. So I was disappointed, but I had to be with my mum. You know, I don't know how long she's got on this earth, and so time with her is precious. So I had to be with my mum. Otherwise, I'd have been at Speaker's Corner. But it's dangerous. It's getting more and more dangerous at Speaker's Corner. So the police, you're not doing what you should be doing. You should be policing that place in a fair way. Now, I know that there are people with mental issues there. I know it's volatile with different cultures there. And it's predominantly Muslim young people there, by the way. But there should be plainclothes police officers in the mix that are sensing there's going to something kick off. And they should let the clothed police officers know what's happening, and they should be ready to step in to preempt something, to stop something before it happens. You know, there should be a lot more tighter security there to make sure that you know, plainclothes police officers should be in there, 2 or 3 just walking around so nobody knows who they are, and not to stitch anybody up, but just to be there, listening to the debates and getting a feel for the atmosphere. And if they feel something's going to kick off, they can let the main guys know, the main central command center and the clothed police officers to be ready if something's going to happen and preempt it. But it's never preempted. If you notice, it's never preempted. When Hatun was attacked, it could have been prevented if the officers would have been more aware, because you could see the guy was ready to attack her. You could see the guy was ready to stab her. So these things can be preempted. I mean, it doesn't take anyone with any brains to work out that it's a very volatile situation. And if it's a very volatile situation, then why don't you have better security and preempt things before they happen? Look, if you've got 100 wild dogs running wild in a park, right? And you just stand there as a police officer, you need to preempt it, don't you? You need to be there and take the dogs away so they don't harm anybody. So you need to be there and see who are the trouble causers, and before they kick off, before they start being violent, take them out of a situation. Have a chat with them. Preempt everything instead of allowing things to escalate all the time. And someone will end up getting killed at Speaker's Corner because it'll escalate. The police will be late, as they always are most of the time, and someone will get knifed and it'll be too late. They'll be dead. And some of the main danger is at night. When Speaker's Corner is at night, the police go. They don't hang around. I mean, how stupid can you be? It's a stupid thing. The police should be there till the Speaker's Corner finishes. When Speaker's Corner finishes, then the police should go. But I want to talk about Quranic manuscripts just for a minute. And I want to talk about tautology. I was on EF Dawah today. I want to talk about tautology. I have some Quran manuscripts here. All right. So I couldn't be at Speaker's Corner. I would have liked to have been, but I have to put my mum first, so. Okay, I want to talk about tautology. Oh, thank you. That's a good point. They want it to escalate so they can shut it down. Yeah, very, very good point, that. It's a very good point. Very good point. The police want it to escalate so they can shut it down. It's a good point. I want to talk about tautology. If you look at these Qurans, this is a Quran. This is a Quran. And this is a Quran. Okay. Now, these Qurans do not have any information of where they got the source from to do their translation of an Arabic Quran. There's no information. Okay. There's no information in this Quran, this Quran, this Quran, 3 Qurans, no information whatsoever about where they got the sources from for these Qurans. Okay. And the tautology is this, is that I was on EF Dawah and the Muslims will talk like this. I said, right, where's your sources, your information for what sources you use for these Qurans? And let's say this is English in English, these, right? But let's imagine we have a couple of Arabic Qurans as well to throw in the mix. Which one do I like? I like this silver one. This one, it's nice to hold. It's got a lot of notes at the back on this one. So let's imagine there's Arabic ones as well, right? If you got the NIV or King James, they've got sources. They've got at King James, we know, and it's stated in some editions, that it uses the Masorati text and the received text. In your NIV, it states that they use the Nestle and Allen Greek text for the New Testament, right? They tell you the sources that they use so you know what they're doing. These Qurans do not tell you what sources they use, right? They don't tell you what sources they use. So you ask them and they'll say this. This is what the EF Dawah team said. Look, we have Quranic manuscripts and oral tradition, right? And these two, the Quran has been preserved. Okay, right. So here's a Quran, right? Here's your Quran. Let's say this is your oral tradition and your Quranic manuscripts. Here's your Quran. Right. What we want is a Quran that has your oral tradition and manuscripts inside it telling us what you've used. All right? So they'll say this. They'll say, look, we have Quranic manuscripts, we have oral tradition, the Quran's been preserved. Okay, but could you give me the source for this Quran? What are the sources? Oh, no, we have oral tradition and manuscripts. Okay, yeah, we know that. Okay, so give me the Quran, your Quran, that you're using with the sources that it's using, oral tradition and Quran and manuscripts. Now, is that simple? That's simple, isn't it, right? Here's your manuscripts and oral tradition. Here's your Quran. Show me in your Quran where your oral tradition and your manuscripts have been used. So we can look inside the Quran and it says we use the Hafs oral tradition, we use the top copy manuscript, right? But we don't. All we hear is this. Are you ready? We have Quranic manuscripts, oral tradition, it's been preserved, right? Could you give me the sources for this Quran here? Or this Quran? Or this Quran? Oh, we have oral tradition and we have manuscript. Yeah. We know. But we want to see it inside. Put it inside a Quran so we can see what you've seen, what sources you're using, oral tradition or manuscript tradition. So what we're getting is a tautology. A tautology is a circular argument that doesn't have any evidence. So they might have evidence here, but they won't connect this evidence with these Qurans. They won't put it in the Qurans. So really what we have here is, put this aside, a tautology. Show me the Qurans, show me in any one of these Qurans, right? Show me the sources for them. Show me the manuscripts and the oral tradition that you've used. Oh, we have manuscripts and we have oral tradition. Yeah. But show me in these Qurans. No, we have manuscripts and we have oral tradition. Yeah. Show me in this Quran. Show me in this Quran. Show me in this Quran. And they'd never do it. So it's a tautology. There is no manuscripts or oral tradition connected to this one. They just made it up. There's no oral tradition or manuscripts connected to this one. They just made it up. There's no oral tradition connected and manuscripts connected to this. So it's a tautology. They never connect the dots. They never give the data and the evidence for any one of their Qurans that they publish. So they're hiding something. Well, what are they hiding? Well, they're hiding things like Pisaref. They're hiding things like Pisaref. Yeah, Pisaref. They're hiding Pisaref and things like that. Who's Pisaref? Well, Pisaref, there's a very ancient Quran that they have at a place called Tashkent. And this is on Islamic Awareness, Quran manuscripts. You can look at it. And Pisaref was a guy in the 19th century who came into contact with this Quran, was able to have this Quran in his possession. And this Quran, it had, the writing was not clear. So he himself started to write ink, deeper ink, to correct the Quran, to put the Quran writing back in. The thing is, he made many mistakes, okay? Jeffries and others and Muslim scholars said that he didn't mean to, he didn't mean to do it, but he did bring in a lot of changes in that Quran. Now that's Pisaref in one of the ancient Qurans. So if you're using top copy, you need to say why you aren't using the manuscript in Tashkent and why you have issues with Pisaref, okay? In the top copy and other manuscripts, the St. Peter's manuscripts, there are folios from, they'll have a folio of a Quran manuscript, but there'll be some folios missing, and they'll be in other parts of the Arabic world. So they will get these other folios and say, right, we have one Quran, but they're not in that one manuscript. They're connected all over the place. So if you're going to do that, you need to document it, and then you need to let us know that you've used it in this Quran, or you've used it in this Quran, that you're not using the manuscript that Pisaref wrote on and added or took away in the Quran. That if you're using the top copy, which folios were you using for this Quran? They don't put this information in there. Okay. Also, there's issues with these Qurans, that some of these Qurans that are so-called ancient, the way they have been discovered, some of them, and been in possession, is very dubious. Like one of the manuscripts, early manuscripts, top copy, or St. Petersburg manuscript, one of them, a very rich woman got hold of it. Well, who is this rich woman? What's she doing with it? Did she tamper with it? Did she do anything with it? It's not documented. We don't hear anything about it in any of these Qurans. We don't hear that, oh, we use this manuscript, St. Peter's manuscript. It came into possession by a rich woman and blah, blah, blah. We don't hear nothing about it. One Quran, I think it's the St. Petersburg, one of them, a very ancient Quran. Some commandos went into an area of Russia and they captured this manuscript, one of these Muslim Islamic manuscripts, and they took it and they hid it in an engine room of a train. Why don't we hear things like that? Why don't we hear, well, this Quran, uh, has gone through ownership by this rich woman, and then the commandos snatched it, and it was hid in a train station, a train engine, and it had, and any of the verses or maybe were damaged by that. And it's not, we don't hear any documentation. We don't hear any documentation that some of these ancient Qurans, some of the writing, you can't read it. It's illegible. You don't hear anything that in these published Qurans that there are Qurans with two styles of handwriting. And so when you're dating the manuscripts, how are you dating these different styles? We don't hear anything, or we're using this part of that manuscript because we think that style is from an ancient time. We don't hear anything like that. We don't hear anything about the dating system of the manuscripts. We don't hear anything. Have they carbon dated the ink as well as the physical manuscript, the parchment or the vellum that they used? We don't hear anything in these published Qurans about anything like this. And it's a scandal because they're hiding things. And what they're hiding is because inherently their Qurans are political. And this is what they're hiding. They haven't got the original Quran. Yeah, it's all vague. What they're hiding is this. They haven't got the original Quran. You see, Abu Bakr is the first person who compiled the Quran, and he was not an official. He had no official authority. So the beginning of the Quranic compilation was done by a guy who had no authority to do that, right? And when Uthman burnt the Quran, what he did, he burnt the evidence. And in the Hadith tradition and in other ancient manuscripts, we see that these manuscripts, the ones that they don't accept, because there are these ancient Qurans that they don't accept. All right, they don't say that these are correct. All right, so they say we have the Uthman text here, the Uthman text there, and all that, right? So you've got these other Quranic textual variants in other Qurans, right? Which they say that are not authentic. And the reality is the original Quran was completely corrupted. And the Quran that they have is something that they've edited over the centuries and tried to make it look as if it's been preserved. But it's never been really the original Quran. And so they don't want to put it in these Qurans. They don't want to put the information in these Qurans. Because once the information is put in a Quran, you can then go and investigate it. And once you investigate it, you'll find that Al-Tabari, who is one of the great Muslim scholars, you will find there he's talking about different Qurans. He's in the Middle Ages. You will find in the Hadiths information about verses missing, verses added. And so they don't want to put the information in here. They want to give you impression that the Quran has been perfectly preserved. And the idea is that there are these perfect manuscripts. There are not perfect manuscripts. Even the best manuscripts, there are verses that you cannot read. There are verses missing. Okay. Now it might be said they have 99% of the folio and 1%, but they have verses missing and they have verses that you can't read. They have manuscripts that have been damaged. They have many manuscripts that don't have all of the Quran, only a quarter of the Quran or half of the Quran or even a page of the Quran. And all this has to be documented. So when you're using a Quranic manuscript or whatever, you have to put it in, this is what we're using. And they won't put it in because once you investigate it, you begin to see that what they've done is they lost the original Quran, and then they had a standardized text that they kept editing over the centuries and hiding the editing that they were doing. And there were other Qurans, and we can find traces of these other Qurans in hadiths and in the old Islamic scholars, and they don't want you to go and research and find that information. And that's the reality of it. That's why in 1934, let me just get the information for you. 1934, I think. Come on, just give me a second. Right. You see, it's not coming up. I'm Googling it and Googling it's being hid. But in the 1930s, the Egyptian government made one standardized Quran, and they dumped all the other Qurans that were not correct in the sea. And if you Google it, you can't find it. So they've had this trying to hide the fact that there are these different Qurans, tried to hide the fact that they lost the original Quran because Uthman burned all the other manuscripts. He burnt the evidence. So you can't get back to the original Quran because they burnt the evidence. Uthman's text that he was not the same as the others. And we still have traces of these other Qurans that are still left. He didn't get all the Qurans, and he wasn't able to get all the Qurans and burn them. So we still have traces of this. And that's why the Muslims keep a lid on it. They don't want us to find out, and they don't publish it. They don't publish their scholarship in any publication of a Quran. They just don't do it. They hide it. And so what they're doing is a tautology. Our Quran is preserved because our Quran is preserved. We don't have to put the information of where we get our sources in these Qurans. So that's a tautology. No evidence, no proof. It's just a tautology. And that's a fact. So unlike us, I want to just share with you again the doctrine of preservation of the Bible. Just to say that how open we are. You know, we put our information in our Bibles where we get our manuscripts from. Again, I want to just talk about the doctrine of preservation in the Bible. I put this question here, this statement here. Psalm 12. Psalm 12. Psalm 12. Yeah. We read verse 6 and 7 says, the words of the Lord are pure as silver, tried in a furnace of earth, purified 7 times. Thou shalt keep them, O Lord, thou shalt preserve them from this generation forever. Psalm 78. Psalm 78. Psalm 78. Verse 4, we will not hide them from the children, showing to the generations to come the praises of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he has done. Psalm 105. Psalm 105. Verse 8. He hath remembered his covenant forever, the word which commandeth to 1,000 generations. God has taught that he preserves his word. Psalm 119, 89. 89. Forever, O Lord, thy word is settled in heaven. Psalm 119, 152. Concerning the testimonies they have known of old, that thou hast founded them forever. Clear that God preserves his word. And so it's not a tautology, because the Old Testament in the King James is from the Maseratis. They were careful for every single word. They had to note it. If they made a mistake, they had to start again. After 30 days, they would go back to the text and they would redo it. It had to be done in the presence of other experienced copyists. So it was very meticulous and very careful. That's the Maserati text behind the King James. Then you have the received text behind the King James for the New Testament. And as I said, that goes back to the apostles who used it. It's the Beza 5th edition, 8th edition, I think, or 5th edition. Sorry, I can't read my handwriting. 1598. And that received text was used by the apostolic churches, received by the Palestinian churches, by the Syrian churches. This is documented by Dr. Scrivener and Dr. Dean Bergen. The Pashto Syriac version of 150 AD based the received text. The Papyrus 66 used the received text. The Italian Church of Northern Italy, 157E, used the received text. The Gaelic Church of South of France used the received text. In 177 AD, the Celtic Church in Britain used the received text, 312 to 1453. What I'm saying is this is documented, and when we use a King James, we know it's well documented what sources the King James was used, and we can trace the variety of sources behind it. So it's not a tautology. We have open, honest evidence for every Bible translation we use of the manuscripts that we use, and we let people know, and the Muslims do not let people know. So it's a tautology. They have no evidence to back up their Qurans. So I hope that's an interest to you. And Pisaref, remember Pisaref? Pisaref was the guy in the 19th century who wrote over the Quran and made mistakes in it as he wrote over. He didn't mean to, but he did. And there are issues like that in these Qurans. There are mistakes in these Qurans. There are issues of textual variance and textual damage of these Qurans. And it has to be documented. And then when they use a manuscript or they use an oral tradition, we need to know what source is it from this Quran is in this Quran. And they don't do it because they're scared of us finding out that they've been up to some shenanigans, like the Egyptian government, for example. And the stories that you hear of some of these Qurans, some rich lady buys it, then she sells it. This is supposedly an ancient Quran. Well, how do we know she didn't corrupt it? How do we know that she didn't? You know, who is she? These soldiers, these special forces soldiers who took a Quran from Russia, and they hid it in a train engine. Who were they? Did they tamper with the text? Did the text get damaged when they did it? When they took that Quran? Pisaref, who's Pisaref? What scholarship is behind his tampering of the Quran? Very little. And they don't readily available. The Islamic Awareness text, the Islamic Awareness website, where I got the information from, is one of the, if not the best apologetic site, the premier apologetic site. And it's out of date on the Quran manuscripts. It's only up to 2014. So it's out of date. Hi, bro. Hi, Truth Defender. God bless you, bro. So it's out of date. The Islamic Awareness website on the manuscripts is out of date. It's not up to date. And yet that's the main premier apologetic website. And the scholarship for the manuscripts is very low. Pisaref. You can, if you want the information about Pisaref, I'll show you. It's here. I'm dyslexic, so I'm not very good at spelling. Islamic Awareness. Sorry, Islamic Awareness. Awareness. Actually, so here we are. So I'll show you what. I'm going to actually show you about Pisaref, the guy Pisaref. Yeah, and I also did other background reading on this as well. That's how it sounds, but it's not spelled like that. All right, see here? You see here? So you go down here on the Quranic manuscripts, and then you get to Uthman manuscripts. These are the oldest manuscripts, so-called, right? So you go here, and information is here. It's at Tashkent, the manuscript, yeah. You go down here, and then you see the history of manuscripts. Now, Pisaref is spelled in different ways. Some spell it in one way, some spell it in other ways. But you got Pisarev or Pissareff. Okay. And so here you have round about here at footnote 11, after footnote 11, it tells you about how he put the ink on it. So it says he did this by photographic process after attempting to carefully retrace the text of the folios where the writing had been almost obliterated by the hands of the faithful stroking of the page. It has since been recognized that Pisaref re-inking of the text in the dulled folios resulted in many mistakes. These false restorations of the original text have caused scholars to handle the manuscript with caution. The charges of deliberate changing of the text are not based on sound grounds and have never been substantiated. So I did some background reading on this information about Pisaref. And the writer here has been a bit economical because it's true. Scholars are not accusing Pisaref of purposely wanting to corrupt the text. to change the text. Scholars are not saying that he meant to change the text, but they are saying there have been many mistakes and that the text, they are very cautious in using that text. Okay? So does people get that? You let me know. Please let me know. Okay, so that's the information there about that issue. The whole point is there are these issues, yeah? I mean, can you imagine? Yeah. Can you imagine if we had an ancient manuscript of the Bible, say from like 50 years after the Apostle Paul of Romans, and then it's discovered in the 19th century, and one of our scholars started to write on it and change it? It'd be the biggest scandal ever. It would be a massive scandal, but it's not a scandal with the Muslims. It's no big deal with the Muslims. It's no big deal because they don't publish this information widely. And even when they publish it, they twist the information. When they put it on a website, it's hidden away to the point where they've twisted the words. Like they've said, scholars saying he didn't mean to change it, but they've left out the fact that scholars do say that the Quran has been changed. So you have this guy in the 19th century who changed the Quran. And it's no big deal that he tampered with the Quran. It's no big deal. You know, it's not documented. Oh, we're using the top copy, but we're not using this ancient manuscript because Pisaref tampered with it. But we use the top copy or the Sana manuscript. They don't put it in there. They don't put it in the Qurans, you see. Do you get what I'm saying? And I tell you what, some of these manuscripts, the people who own them and the stories behind them, I tell you what, there's a lot of question marks. A lot of question marks. Yeah. Well, I've read that piece there, and Jeffrey's saying this guy didn't mean to change it. He didn't mean to change it, you know. But yeah, man. But it was changed. There were mistakes made by this guy, Pisaref. I brought it up on EF Dower. I kept mentioning his name. It was doing the Reddit. So that's it, really, guys. Oh, so yeah, so you've got one story of a Quran. A rich woman owns it, and then she sells it to this professor, and it changes hands. No proper security of these Qurans sometimes. And then you hear stories of other Qurans being owned by a caliph. So you know that, all right, this caliph, who is he? Was he political? Did he ask to write over the Quran? Because some of these ancient Qurans, they have writing over other older Qurans. So do some of these caliphs, do they order a Quran to be written over the Quran just to soften any political issue that they have? These are questions that we need to ask. Who was this caliph who owned this particular Quran? There are things like that. Who was this rich woman in the 19th century who bought the Quran? Where did she buy it from? These soldiers who took a Quran from Russia and they hid it in a train engine. Well, did they damage it? Was there any verses damaged? If so, how many? And do you document it? And in your textual critical books, do you note that? We don't have any information like that. It's very vague. Some of these ancient Qurans, they don't have all the Quran in one place. There are folios in another nation and folios in another nation. Well, where's all the documentation that you're using these different folios in these Qurans? We don't get any information. In these Qurans, there are ancient Qurans that they have. Some of the writing, you can't read it. Some of the Qurans, so you can't read it. So have you documented that in these Qurans that you publish? No. So there's lots and lots of questions like that they don't put out there about their Qurans, you know. And so it's a tautology. They're just saying it, but they've got no proof. What else is there? There's the dating system. They're not honest about the dating system. They say these are ancient manuscripts, right? And they're first century. But the material that they use, it could be many, many years after the animal has died that the manuscript was written on. Do you get that? So say an animal dies at the time of Muhammad, right? Say a sheep, right? Or a cow. It might be 50, 100, 200 years before they actually write on that piece, on that animal, right? They might store it for 50 years or 10 years, 20 years, whatever, before they write on it. It could be even 100 years later, right? So when you say we have an ancient Quran, it's only guesswork. You don't really know the date of that Quran, right? But they give this dating system, and the dating system is wide off the mark, and they're not as honest about it. So they'll say sometimes it's 98 probability, but then they don't tell you that there are other scholars that say it's 50% probability that this is the date. And so they give a wide variety of dates for manuscripts. So they'll say it's 50 years, or there's a gap with 200 years, and you can take your pick in the middle. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is these dating is not as accurate as they claim to be. Yeah, scripture is sufficient. You're wasting your time, Cherry. You're wasting your time. All you need to know is go. I just said, you know who Pisaref is? That's all you need to know, Cherry. Just say, do you know who Pisaref is? Do you know that he wrote in the 19th century? He was a scholar that wrote on the Quran and changed it. He didn't mean to, but he did. So why don't you document these things and tell us clearly about it? Yeah, it does. Truth defender, it does takes many different methods, and so I'm gonna go. I visited my brother. Just remember Pisaref. All you gotta remember is Pisaref. Just said, you know who Pisaref is. Your Qurans are not perfect. We know of a Quran that Pisaref messed up. So stop your nonsense. And then go on to Islamic awareness, and it's the first manuscript on the list of manuscripts. It's at Tashkent. It's the Tashkent manuscript at Tashkent, and it's Pisaref who copied over it in the 19th century and messed it up. One of their most ancient Qurans, and they don't use it because he messed it up. Pissarev. Pissarev. Remember, Pissarev. Just ask him, do you know who Pissarev is? I kept saying it on the Dower team, EF Dower today. So it's going to catch on. I know it's going to catch on. Everybody's going to be talking about Pissarev. Everybody's going to be going to bed tonight. Who's the heck's Pissarev? It's got you all wondering, hasn't it? You're all like thinking, who the heck's Pissarev? We need to know who Pissarev is. That's what the Muslims are thinking too. Hey, my heck. I visited my mum today and she looked great. Her face was beaming, full of colour. And it was a good day today to see my mum. So let's go. But I've got to get my yellow fever done. Injection to get back to Ghana. So I've got a quiet day tomorrow and then get this injection done. So I'm quite tired. That's why I didn't do an in-depth study today. Sorry, folks. Yeah, thanks, Cherish. Yeah, she looks a different woman today. Her face was beaming with colour. Like her face was nice red cheeks before. It's been ghost white. So it's been really good. My brother was okay. He was happy, at peace, because he'd been stressed out. He was at peace, and it was Father's Day, and I gave my dad a Father's Day card. I also bought him a hat for Father's Day. And some chocolates, like little bits of small chocolates for him. So that was nice. And that's it really, folks. So tomorrow I'm going to spend quite a bit of time praying. Then go and get my injection and the thing come as well. I'll just show you. Yeah, happy Father's Day to everybody out there. And these came in the post today, actually. I was surprised they'd come today. I didn't think they'd be coming today. They did come. So these have come today. Lessons for Life, Jill Masters for Sunday School from the Met Tab in London. And it's a 4-year teaching plan for children on the Bible for Sunday School. So these came today, so I'm chuffed to take back to Africa for the kids and teaching them, So I'm really happy about that. I went to church today. It was a blessing. Preacher preached on Father's Day and being a father. It was very, very good. So that's it, folks. I'm going to go. Cherry, good night. Truth Defender, good night. And his son, Numus Vinci, good night. And if anybody wants to come on, I'll let them come on for a few minutes. So if anybody wants to come on, you're welcome to come on. There's the live link. So there's the live link. Excuse me. That's the link. If anybody wants to come on, excuse me, you can do. So if anybody wants to come on, please feel free to come on. You got a few minutes to do that. So yeah, so while you think about coming on, so the Jill Massett, you can get these at the Metropolitan Tabernacle, London Bookshop. Lessons for Life 4, Lessons to Life 3, Lessons to Life 2, Lessons to Life 1. Very, very good. Very, very good. Excuse me. Yeah, Truth Defender, I'll show you. I made a video. Soco Films did a video. Yeah. I'll just show you. Let me show you something. So Adam, one man, sin came to the world. Jesus, obedience, many became righteous. So your argumentation that Adam is mythological and is symbolic of humanity general falls to the ground in an exegesis of Romans chapter 5. So here is a director of the American Museum, H.F. Osborne, using evolution, and is making unwittingly racist remarks about black people, because the idea of the survival of the fittest, people have developed higher than other groups. You're not saving the church. You're not helping the church. You're actually endangering the church, because you're having a lot of influence at the moment. And this video is a public, gentle, but clear, unequivocal rebuke and challenge to you, brother, that what you're teaching in this area is theologically dangerous and disastrous. So, Bob, this is an open challenge to you, brother, to answer some of these questions and challenges that I want to put to you. And I hope that you might take up the challenge and make a video response to what I have to say, because what I have to say is very important, and you need to put. So I've called out Bob on his theistic evolution there, Truth Defender. If you go and watch the video, it's quite long, but it's on Soco Films. That's where Bob the Builder's videos are. Soco put this up. And he never refuted it. He never came back at me. He never challenged me. He never had a debate with me. And he never refuted that video. That video refutes his theistic evolution. I've also done a video critiquing his doctrine of denying hell. And also his textual criticism, which uses the idea of eclecticism and the Westcott and Hort theories. I've critiqued that. I've critiqued his view on hell, that he doesn't believe in hell, and I've also critiqued his theistic evolution, Truth Defender, and he's never come back on that video. He's never he might have changed recently, Cherry, but there's videos of him in the past, last year before last, denying hell, the literal hell that we believe in, and he never came back at me on the issue of theistic evolution. I told him that the Bible teaches 6-day creation. I gave the evidence there in that video, and he never refuted it. And he said that he's been on record as saying in the past that I shouldn't be given an opportunity to be debating on Soco films. I shouldn't be given an opportunity to do that. But Soco put that up before he said that. So yeah, so that's so yeah, so yeah, so here's the live link if anybody wants to come on. So there we are. So yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah. Theistic evolution makes Christ a liar because Jesus clearly. Yeah, yeah. If you watch the video, Truth Defender, I make that clear. You know, Cherry says, I do like the boldness. Yeah, I like his boldness. I like his boldness. But he has to have humility and he has to be willing to submit to the scripture. But zeal without knowledge is worthless. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. So I put the link out there. I'll do it again one more time. Anybody want to come on, they can come on. So I did the video there. You can see the video, the title of the video, and it was never refuted. The wash, the halves, and the piss halves. That's a good one, bro. That's a good one. I like it. You got the wash Quran, the halves Quran, and the piss halves Quran. We should use we should use that when we're talking to Muslims. We should say, "Have you heard of the Pisaf's Quran?" The Pisaf's Quran. Yeah, the Pisaf's Quran. You not heard of the Pisaf Quran? Oh, that's funny, that bro. That's so funny. That is the Pisaf Quran. Truth Defender. You should say what's his name now? I post his videos all the time. He's a friend of yours, and my mind's gone blank. He's a friend of yours. You should tell him about the Pisaf's Quran. I forgot. How can I forget? I post his videos all the time. You know. Just going on my Facebook because I post his videos all the time. Yeah, what's his name? Anthony Rogers. Yeah. Be good if you told Anthony Rogers. Yeah. Be good if you told Anthony Rogers about the Pisaf Quran. Ask him. Ask Anthony Rogers. Hey, Anthony, did you know you've heard of the Dori Quran? You've heard of the Hafs Quran? Have you heard of the Pisaf's Quran? See what he says. All right, guys, I'm gonna go, but just remember that there's more people coming on, so I don't know if someone wants to come on. Okay, I'm gonna go in a minute. So there's an opportunity there. You've got the stream yard there if anybody wants to come on. We had a Muslim come on yesterday. It's quite a nice Muslim asking about tulip. And I was on EF Dawah today, and oh, he's on now. Okay, well, I'll let you go and defer. Let you go and watch Anthony Rogers. All right. God bless you, folks. Enjoy Anthony Rogers, and have a lovely evening if you're in America, morning, whatever it is. I'm going to pray, and God bless you all. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for your grace and your love, and we give you the praise and the glory. And I just pray that you bless the people who come to listen, Lord. Be with them in Jesus' name for your glory, Lord. Amen. 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 So God bless you, folks, and have a lovely evening. God bless you, Cherry. God bless you, everyone. Take care now.